Number 1 Auburn hoops in for refreshing test against Oklahoma in Big 12/SEC Challenge. In some ways, this weekend will offer a bit of reprieve for Auburn basketball. In others, it will be a different type of challenge for the nation's number 1 team during what has been an unprecedented season on the plain. The top-ranked Tigers are almost midway through their SEC slate, unscathed at 8-0 in conference action, and are coming off a stretch of 3 games in 6 days. On Saturday, Auburn will get a break from the SEC grind as it takes part in the annual Big 12/SEC Challenge, hosting Oklahoma at 1 p.m. in Auburn Arena. ITLLB, let's just say, refreshing, but certainly not easy, Auburn coach Bruce Pearl said. Read more Auburn hoops. Top-ranked Auburn shows it can win even if Jabari Smith has off night. Goodman, how much is Bruce Pearl worth to Auburn? Auburn Arena facility upgrades on agenda for Board of Trustees meeting. The non-conference matchup will provide Auburn a chance at seeing a different style of play from what it has become accustomed to over the last month. Leagues, Pearl, tend to run similar actions and play defense in similar ways, akin to football, where the SEC has a distinctly different style than the Big 12 or even the Big 10. It becomes routine, seeing variations of the same stuff night in and night out. In preparation for the Big 12/SEC Challenge, Pearl and his staff have been watching film on Oklahoma, of course, but also Baylor and Kansas and West Virginia, among other Big 12 teams that the Tigers haven't necessarily studied throughout the season. It's good to sort of step out and study some different teams, Pearl said. Brushing up on the styles of Big 12 teams could pay dividends come March and April in the NCAA Tournament, when teams like Baylor or Kansas, or even Texas Tech and Iowa State, might cross paths with Auburn, but the Tigers are focused on the now. And what's now is a matchup with Oklahoma, as Auburn puts the nation's longest winning streak, 16 games, on the line. Auburn is coming off a gut-check win at Missouri, overcoming a double-digit deficit for the 3rd time in 4 games to win its first-ever game as the nation's number 1 team. That, obviously, has got to be concerning, Pearl said. And it is. That means we've got a lot of tightening up to do. Now, whether we can or whether we will is to be determined. It's something that we're going to try to work at, which then gives us room to improve. But if we don't, we're going to start getting beat. And so, I'm encouraged and hope the guys can lock into what needs to improve. Auburn will seek that improvement against a tough Oklahoma team that, despite being just 3-5 in Big 12 play, sits at number 33 in net rating, the metric utilized by the NCAA Selection Committee in compiling the 68-team field for March Madness, and boasts one of the nation's top field goal percentages while also limiting opponents to just 62.5 points per game. The Sooners are doing that in year 1 under coach Porter Moser, who took over the program last offseason following a successful stint at Loyola Chicago, where he spent a decade and led the Ramblers to the Final Four in 2018. Porter Moser does a terrific job. He's one of the best young coaches in the country, Pearl said of the 53-year-old Sooners coach. Took the Loyola program and put them on the map and now has done a terrific job at Oklahoma. There will be some familiarity, at least, between the two sides. Auburn faced Moser's former team in November, defeating Loyola Chicago 62-53, in the Bahamas. The Ramblers have some carryover in their system and personnel from Moser's last season, so that should provide Auburn with a rough blueprint against Oklahoma. The Sooners, though, have better players on their roster than the Ramblers do, which could mean a tougher matchup for the Tigers than the one they experienced in Atlanta. I am sure Porter's watching closely and looking at, that would be one of the games that he clearly will pay attention to, Pearl said. It's almost like he's got the advantage, because he's seen us play a team that's similar to the way they play. The other challenge for Auburn is that it will be going toe-to-toe with a team that relies on its depth as much as the Tigers do. Oklahoma, like Auburn, has 9 players who average at least 11 minutes per game this season. Auburn's depth is a big reason why it avoided an upset at the hands of Missouri on Tuesday, but the Tigers will need to be sharper than they were in Columbia, if they hope to keep their winning streak, as well as their streak of 39 consecutive non-conference wins at Auburn Arena, intact. It may not come down to who's going to be worn out. It's going to come down to execution, come down to some last possessions, come down to some free throws, Pearl said. I just think that's the way it's going to be the rest of the way. Tom Green is an Auburn beat reporter for Alabama Media Group. Follow him on Twitter at Tomas_Verde.